All right, and with that, let me introduce our esteemed panelists today. I'm joined by Mr. Sanjay Rana, who's a political analyst, Mr. P. Pulla Rao, who's a senior renowned journalist. I'm also told that I'll be joined in by Mr. Sumant C. Raman in just a bit. But Mr. Rao, thank you for joining in today. And I'd like to begin by, in fact, asking you, why is this being called anti-federalism and anti-democracy?
Straight away, I believe that the government should have prepared the country more. They should have held more meetings. They should have had discussions. They should have seen a national endeavor, not one man's endeavor or one party's endeavor or the government's endeavor. They could have done all of this exercise. But have they done it? They have not done it anyway. For example, February 2024, in Tamil Nadu, there was unanimity in the assembly and they passed a resolution against this. Why do they do these things? Because nobody reaches out. It's the duty of the government to reach out to the opposition, discuss with them behind the scenes and outside. We want to pass this law. Let us see what happens. That has not been done. If you had a brute majority, you want to do it, fine. Now what happened? Yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister said, now I will not change my pace, I will do everything. Fair enough. And this is the result of that I am going ahead like this. Now, one small thing I want to bring to your consideration. You had mentioned that will this be passed in December, winter session? I don't think so. What they will do is, they will introduce the bill perhaps, and then send it to a standing committee. Parallelly, the census has to take place, parallelly. Only then the next elections can be held.
All right.
It will take time.
All right. Let me quickly bring in Sanjay Rana now. You heard what Pulla Rao had to say, and he said that that there has not been enough discussion. Do you really think that's not been enough discussion when we've had 47 political parties being consulted? Out of them, you have 32 who have agreed to the proposal and 15 have in fact been against the proposal. Can we still say that this has been anti-democratic?
Good evening to my fellow panelists. First of all, it's not anti-democratic or anti-constitution. It's very surprising. Nowadays, I think opposition has only 2 or 3 votes which they are raising everywhere whenever they get the chance. Anti-constitution, anti-democratic procedure. No, till 1967, we used to have a single election across India. It's happened after that. A lot of political changes happened. There was no single party. A lot of regional party came up, and therefore that's to manage the political thing, to manage the brownie point. This kind of elections will happen. But if any move is going to be there, then we need to have a plan. Why it's not going to be passed in this winter session? Absolutely, is possible. Government should have the number in Lok Sabha as well as the Raj Sabha. As per the parties are concerned, obviously consensus are developed, and obviously they have consulted many political party as number you mentioned. So I don't see there is any issue. But yes, to implement this, we need to look at the women reservation bill. Obviously, they have the benchmark when it's going to be implemented. It's going to be after 2026. The same way, government has to make a plan after making a law, what all changes they need to do it in the law, what all changes are required in election procedure, what we have at this point of time, what all changes we have to do in various various segments by which we can run an election and maintain the take care of all the political parties.
So, Sumant C. Raman, I want to quickly ask you, all those elections that took place under Prime Minister Nehru, all the way from 1952 up till 1967, were they also anti-democratic and anti-federalism in nature?
No. First of all, we have to understand that the politics of today is a far cry from the politics at the time of independence. At the time of independence, we had leaders of integrity. That is the first point. Across political parties, I'm not blaming any one political party. We had leaders who actually stood up for what was the right thing to do, who could come together on bipartisan issues. Today, that is not the case at all. So today, we have to understand that in any case, this matter is going to go to the Supreme Court, and eventually it will be the decision of the court whether this is going to be constitutional, if at all it is passed in Parliament, and then it goes to the court. Now, the point really is that in a federal structure, when a state election is held, issues relevant to the state must be highlighted. And when a central election is held, issues relevant to the center must be in public focus. I do know and I am aware that many occasions where simultaneous elections have been held, electorates have been wise enough to vote for one party for the center and the opposite party or the opposition party at the state level. That has happened multiple times. But having said that, you cannot leave such a thing to the intelligence of the electorate in all cases. So we should understand that when there are overwhelming sentiments attached to a particular election, that may overshadow local issues. So therefore, the first part of it is this going to get through to the stage where a constitutional amendment will happen?
All right.
I don't think so.
All right, Sanjay Rana,
But
I
even
think the
if it
point
does-
that Sumant is making is something that has already been highlighted by Trinamool Congress or even the Shiv Sena UBT, that only the party that's in power at the center will stand to benefit through such a move, because regional parties, according to them, will be disadvantaged.
I'll give you one example to Mr. Raman. Look at the election which happened, Lok Sabha election few months back, and simultaneously Odisha Vidhan Sabha were there. So people have given a vote on the basis of the merit, with whether they liked some party or their agenda, their policies, the past performance. On the basis of their, obviously they're casting their vote. We cannot doubt on the intelligence of the common people or Indian citizens. Indian citizens know very well what they are doing. Take an example. Anyway, he has given example of many example, like center has a, when voting for the member of parliament is happening, there is a different pattern, and Vidhan Sabha is totally different pattern. I totally agree with you. But it was happening in past, and it's quite possible to do it in current scenario or in future. Why we cannot change the procedure if it is not lucrative, it's not workable, it's not fruitful for many things. Suppose example, there was election in Lok Sabha election, and there was a what's called that election, and none of the government, whether Haryana government, to take an example, Maharashtra government, has to take any action or any policies to implement during that time. So there is a loss of common people. There's a loss of that state or common people, those staying in that state. So we need to look at the wider picture and need to explain. And we cannot doubt. This is not the answer.
All right,
that
Sumant,
people will
since you mentioned a consensus on bipartisan issues, you also compared the times under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru versus now under Prime Minister Modi. I'd also like to bring to your attention that the high-level committee, which was operating under former President Mr. Ramnath Kovind, requested for an in-person interaction with the Congress party. The Congress party has disagreed without even having a discussion in person. How bipartisan is that?
No, Akanksha, the basic purpose of setting up the committee is to get this report. That was the reason for the committee. We all know it because it was set up. See, whatever may have been former President Kovind's credentials, the fact remains that he was a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
No.
Therefore,
Mr. Raman, I think that is a very
No.
biased approach over there.
No.
Because we
No,
have
it's not a biased
37,
approach, it's common
you
sense.
have 37 parties being consulted, and the ones who chose to disagree had disagreed. And that is the beauty
Look,
of
the
democracy.
India Alliance has serious issues
I'm totally
with the
disagreeing
simultaneous
with the
holding
point
of
which
elections.
Mr. Raman made. The president was ex-Bharatiya Janata Party member. Obviously, somebody will be the member of the parliament or some party, or obviously I have a different view.
But you've had opposition parties being part.
Absolutely, that's
of
what
the
I'm saying.
implementations.
Opposition parties are there and they have given their viewpoint. As far as the Congress is concerned, Akanksha, absolutely, bring anything, you take it, anything. Congress party will raise the red flag for anything, whatever Modi government is trying to do it. They don't look at what is the good for the country, the good for the people of India. They say Modi government is bringing something, I will oppose it. Baba, if
Congress,
inviting
so
you
many
for
things. Can I give you a list?
inviting you for the discussion, then you have to come up and have a discussion and put forward your objections. These are not
Can I
possible.
give you a
What is
list
possible,
of
not
things?
possible. If it is not possible, what are the hurdles you have by which we
Let's
can come
let's
up?
listen
So
to what
you are-
Sumant also has to say. Sumant.
No. Can I give him a list of things which the Modi government opposed when the BJP was in the opposition? Sorry, not Modi government. The BJP opposed when it was in the opposition, which they have then been implementing, starting with GST. Right on. There are dozens and dozens of schemes. Manrega. They said Manrega is a disaster. It should be. It is not going to benefit anybody.
All
It is
right, on that
Manrega
note,
which saved
let's
the
also
country
bring in
during
Mr.
COVID.
Pulla Rao. Mr. Pulla Rao, considering there have already been disagreements on this proposal, something you also talked about, you're not very hopeful that it's going to make its way during the winter session. What I want to ask you, that when there have been, the skeptics over there, why would such a proposal finally make it to the winter session? Do you think it will meet the same fate as we've seen happen to the Waqf bill or the broadcast bill?
No, I don't think so. It is a very logical process. It is introduced. It's a very big subject. It will be sent to a select committee or a joint parliamentary committee or a standing committee. I think that's what they will do, and that's what they should do, because at the same time they have to finish the census. Census itself has become a bit of a controversy. And as far as the government is concerned, once a bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha, it stays alive for 5 years. So, for the government, it will be that we are doing what we said. It is in process. We have not put this in a cold storage. We are working on it. It makes sense for the government to introduce it and send it to the standing committee. But it's no way going to pass in such a rush, because it's much, much bigger than all the other bills now which have gone to standing committees or other committees. So therefore, you will have to wait. And I'm sure that's what the government is going to do. Even if they had the majority, a bare majority, it is difficult, because this is it's a very big bill.
All right. I see
you're
Sanjay
going to
Rana also
change
wants
the
to make a
life of
point.
an
Sanjay
assembly.
Rana, please
Yes,
go ahead.
yeah.
But I also have a question with regards to what happens if the government falls. Remember, there will be a fresh set of elections taking place, but that new government only gets to operate till their term in fact expires. And then you're talking about saving on logistical costs. So if a government only
does it
operates
work?
for 2 years or a year, how is that cost cutting or saving on the logistical costs?
Okay, first I'm going to give answer to the senior panelists, those who are sitting here. He's made a contradictory statement. He said they cannot bring this bill in winter session. If they are going to bring it, it will go to JPC or standing committee. Going to JPC and the standing committee is a good thing. Obviously, we have to have a consensus. We have to have a discussion. We have to find out the solution, how we are going to do it, how we are going to deliver it, number one. Number two, when you talk about the question, obviously, look at the women reservation bill. When is going to be implemented and which year is going to be implemented? So a lot of things are there. I'm not saying it's going to be a catwalk things you can go and they are going to deduce in the winter session and it's going to be applicable from next year. No, it will take time. But any good thing which is coming up, we need to welcome it. If you feel that there are some issues and concern, you as a opposition leader, you as a learned journalist, or you as a citizen of India, you can come with a suggestion how we need to do the things better. But creating a problem and saying no, it is not possible. How are you going to work it out? Everything which is there at this point of time was not possible 20, 30 years back.
No, but
is it
Sanjay
possible?
Rana, you also have to understand where the opposition's coming from. They're saying that if you were so confident about running simultaneous assembly elections, that you should have also announced Maharashtra dates along with Jammu and Kashmir.
What I said is a long-term process. Government has to introduce the bill first, and obviously it will follow. We need to do a lot of changes in our law. Not only in law, obviously in elections procedure, we need to do a lot of changes, and it cannot be changed overnight. It will take time. Therefore, they're introducing a bill first, and when the bill is going to pass from the parliament, from both the houses, then it will go to.
All right, I'm running short of time.
One last
Yes,
point.
Suman,
One last point.
I'm giving you
Yeah,
time to
one
make that
point.
point.
Yeah.
And while you make that
Yeah.
point, I also want to ask you, today Ashwini Vaishnav has talked about Jan Sannati. And when you talk about building that consensus, how challenging is that going to be, considering you're looking at several constitutional amendments and some very challenging at that?
Yes, one very quick point before that. Look, the constitutional amendment, whether it will pass or not, is itself highly doubtful. But the point we have to understand is the draft bill has not been approved by the cabinet. The high-level committee's report has been approved by the cabinet. So
Fair
now
enough.
the draft bill will have to go. The draft bill will first have to be approved by the cabinet. Then it has got to be put into parliament.
All
Then
right.
it has got to clear parliament. Then
First
it has
step-
got to face legal challenge in the court. So we are a long way off. This
True,
is mostly
true.
it's a diversion.
But there has to be a
tactic,
beginning,
that's
and
all.
perhaps that's where the BJP wants consensus, that, you know, let it in fact enter the parliament at least. Mr. Pulla Rao, I'd like your closing thoughts.
You know, one thing is, as you know, there are some what has come out is very shocking. They say if the government falls, there will be fresh elections. This is just negates everything they said, that we don't want too many elections. There has to be play. This is a parliamentary democracy, not a fixed term government elections like US. And parliamentary democracy does require a bit of chaos. Governments must fall. Britain had 4 or 5 prime ministers in the last 4 or 5
All
years.
right. I'm sure
Right
that
now,
point
straight
will
away
also
looking
be
at some of
taken
this-
up in the parliament, which is why it's being taken up during the winter session. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for making those very valid and pertinent points. In fact, Sanjay Rana is going to stay on.